welcome to DDM. Today we have a very special person with us, Marietta Mehanni, who is a gym instructor and strong proponent of good health and well-being. Welcome to DDM.
Okay, thank you very much for having me on the show.
Good. Yeah, Marietta, I heard that you've been doing this gym instructor work as well as you have your website and you are a strong proponent of good health for the women especially. So can you tell me a bit more about it?
Okay, so I've been in the fitness industry for 26 years, and in that 26 years there's been a transition. I think when I first started it was more about how you looked, exercising so you had a nice body. I think now, more importantly, and certainly it's not just my maturity or my experience, but also the result of our everyday lifestyles now, people are sitting more. And we have bodies that were designed to move and have moved for millennia. And it's only been really the last 50 years that we've learned to become much more sedentary, to the point now that being sedentary is actually a large factor of disease. We know that it will relate to heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and that is considered disease now. That sitting, even if you just exercise for half an hour a day, will actually make a big difference to the outcome of your health. It might not make any changes to your body, but it will certainly reduce the risks of serious health concerns. And there's a lot of research based on that. Simple things like walking every day and spending half an hour walking or just doing some sort of movement. My personal motto is move every day. That's all I need to do is I need to move every day. And how I move is whatever way it pleases me, because the reality is any exercise that is uncomfortable and unbearable and really challenging isn't going to be something I'm going to be able to do every single day. I'm not going to enjoy it. But it's not normal. It's not normal to be sitting down every day. And if you sit down and work out, if you just work out how much time you spend sitting down, lying down, you'll notice that you don't do much stuff standing up. And our bodies were designed to stand up.
But motivation is the key thing in every person's mindset.
Well, I don't know about the word motivation, because motivation or willpower, those sorts of things, I think people expect will happen to them, or they'll wake up feeling that way. Mm-hmm. They're emotions that disappear. They come and they go, and it depends on how you feel or how overwhelmed you are with life. Really, movement needs to be part of your routine. So, exactly. We would never think that one day we might skip sleeping because, well, we're too busy, we'll just skip sleeping, or we won't have a shower that day just because, well, too busy, the children are away. And sometimes that is the case, but the reality is it's not a permanent situation. So it needs to be something that sort of builds into your day, part of your daily routine. And it can be really simple things. People sometimes think I have to exercise in a gym. And the reality is that it doesn't need to be within the four walls of a facility, although those places are excellent places to be supervised and to help with the motivation, and certainly with advice about nutrition and ways to exercise and exercise well. But movement on a daily basis can be choosing to park your car at the furthest end of the car park and choosing to walk in. Or one thing that I do is I don't use a shopping trolley when I go to the supermarket. So I only take the bag that you can have on your arm.
Wow.
And, well, it stops me from buying too much. Because if I can't carry it, I can't buy it. And also, it helps with building a little bit of upper body strength. But it's just little adjustments like that, like choosing to use the stairs. When I'm in the airport, one of the things that I do, because I travel a lot, is I try and walk faster than the person that's in front of me, and then I'll point up to them, I look for another person in the crowd, and I try and catch up to them. So I'm moving a little bit more quickly than perhaps I would have if I was just moving at my own pace, so to speak.
Yeah, so kind of a conscious effort.
Yeah, and just little conscious efforts, not a big, I need to go to the gym and kill myself in the workout, therefore I'm going to get some sort of benefit. More about just having regular small intervals of movement. Yeah.
Okay. And I see that you are strong proponent of pelvic floor first.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit more about it?
So the Continence Foundation of Australia in 2009 were funded by the government to reach out to the fitness industry to approach fitness professionals and fitness leaders to help with promote pelvic floor awareness. The end result was quite something that we would have never expected, and the Pelvic Floor First project or initiative is now a website. It's a downloadable app that you can put on your phone, whether it be Android or iPhone. And also the Continence Foundation of Australia providing education all over Australia to assist women and men. I think I have to put both in the same category, the importance of pelvic floor. And do you know, Mesh, this is the really interesting thing, is that when we talk about core, and lots of people use that word but don't really understand it, the core muscles are the muscles on the most inner side of your body that help with assisting with stabilisation of the spine and the pelvis. And what most people don't realise is that the pelvic floor is actually the foundation muscle to that core. So when you don't have good conscious control of that, it will get weaker, and ultimately your core muscles will weaken because they work together in like a cylindrical shape around your body to help with increasing or decreasing intra-abdominal pressure, which also assists with stabilisation of the spine. So when we talk about core, a lot of people think it's abdominals and then the muscles on the outside, which help with movement, certainly with being able to perform exercises and everyday functions. But the core, the deep internal muscles, are the ones that really help with assisting with stabilisation. So why pelvic floor and why focus on this? Well, to begin with, we know that a third of Australians actually have a problem with this muscle. And that's a really large percentage. They say up to 70% of people won't even discuss it with their GP. And what are the things that you can expect if you have a weak pelvic floor? Well, for a lot of people, it's usually some form of incontinence or urgency issues. So they either leak when they cough, laugh, or sneeze, or they find that they need to go to the toilet very frequently, and or don't make it to the toilet. So they have an issue with being able to put it on.
How common it is?
It's really common. We say 1 in 3 women that have ever had a baby. There's a thing called a prolapse, which is where your internal organs, which are not being supported by the pelvic floor anymore, start to actually fall out or fall in against themselves. It's called a prolapse, and 50% of women over the age of 50 actually suffer from a prolapse. So that's a lot of people. With men, we tend to see it more as men get older, as they get an enlarged prostate. But the other area, which is a growing area, is men who do a lot of heavy lifting. So when you increase the load in the upper body, that muscle, which is the only muscle that closes up the skeleton at the bottom, actually with supporting internal organs, starts to weaken. And we often see a rectal prolapse with men who do powerlifting and bodybuilding and weightlifting. So it's really, really interesting. And it's not just that. They also might have issues with lower back pain. And also problems with erectile function, so having issues with being able to make the penis erect, because that muscle plays a part in the first part of the erection. So it does lots of functions. It helps support internal organs. It's part of the core. It helps with relaxing, so being able to relax, because you can have too tight a pelvic floor. So when you go to the toilet, that's the time for you to relax. It also plays a role in sexual function as well. So it's not like the bicep. The bicep does a couple of things. It bends your elbow and helps with extending your elbow and strength. But the pelvic floor has much more than just being able to hold up into the organs. Yeah.
So not always the surgery is the option.
Oh my goodness. And the thing is, so this is the stats.
Yeah.
When you have surgery, if you're choosing to have surgery, 50% of all surgeries fail.
Right.
And they fail because people don't do their pelvic floor exercises after the surgery. So then they go in for their second surgery. Statistically, 75% of those fail. So then you go and have a third surgery thinking this is the one, and there's a much higher percentage of those surgeries to fail as well. So the key is the most conservative way to work your pelvic floor is to actually do exercises to exercise the pelvic floor. And for a lot of people, they can avoid the whole surgery because once you have the surgery, you can't do anything for up to 6 to 8 weeks. Nothing. No lifting, no outdoor activities, no walking. You basically have to lie down with your feet up a lot to allow that pelvic floor muscle to recover so that you don't end up with future issues. And then on top of that, you've got scar tissue. So they've come in, they've done some work, you've got surgical instruments have come in there, you're going to develop this scar tissue, which means that you lose the ability to contract muscles as effectively. It's an ongoing cycle of more issues. Yeah, exactly. So pelvic floor exercises can take up to 2 or 3 minutes every day. That's it. Oh. And it can be done anywhere. Oh, right. My favourite place to do my pelvic floor exercises is actually when I'm waiting in line. So instead of taking my phone out to check what the latest email or Facebook message is, I resist the urge and I'll quite often find myself waiting somewhere. I'll do my pelvic floor exercises, which simply is lifting up your pelvic floor. So you're lifting the pelvic floor muscles up. Nothing else should be changing. Your muscles in your legs and your shoulders and your face don't change. And it's a sensation of trying to stop yourself from passing wind or urinating. Or the other way I sometimes think about it is imagine that you really need to go to the toilet to do number twos, and you want to hold that because you don't want to let go, but you don't use your buttocks at all. So I'll do a pelvic floor lift now. Okay. I've done one now, and I'm holding it. I'm still breathing and talking, so to feel you be able to hold it. And then now relaxed. Wow, right. So I don't need to be physically moving my arms or legs. So it can be done very privately, and it can be done anytime.
I am trying right now, but I can't hold the breath. I am holding the breath. Yeah. It is. I can't let go my breath, you know.
So that's the practice. That's the practice in doing it frequently. So like I said, it needs to be daily practice. Yeah. And certainly if you have problems, then I highly recommend that you contact the Continence Foundation of Australia. They have a wonderful helpline with continence nurses who can also make recommendations for people to see if you're a female, a women's health physio or a men's health physiotherapist who will be able to do a good assessment. And that's really important. The assessment's important because what I'm suggesting now is very, very simplistic because I'm giving a general overview, but a physiotherapists in those areas, and they are specialised in those areas, so not just your normal physio, they will be able to provide the correct training program for you. So how long you should hold, how many repetitions you should be doing, how frequently you are doing them. Because if you're having issues with continence, it might be more than once a day. But like I said, it only takes about 2 or 3 minutes, so it's not a long process, and it's certainly not a physically challenging process. It's more of a neurological process. And when you first start, basically, because it requires every brain cell, because you can't think about doing it and breathing at the same time, that's when slowly you become more coordinated and you're able to do a pelvic floor lift and breathe. Because ultimately, your pelvic floor needs to be able to lift and operate correctly when you are breathing and when you are walking and when you're talking and when you're jumping and when you're picking up your children and when you're doing heavy lifting, for example, or it should activate when you're going to do a cough as well, just automatically so that you don't urinate on yourself.
Exactly. Are these the same as the Kegel exercises?
Okay, so Kegel was the very first person to actually introduce pelvic floor exercises, and hence why that name became famous. Oh, okay. So they've actually evolved considerably since then. And if you know something about Kegels, that's great. But with research and more awareness, and there's been a lot of research done on pelvic floor health, particularly because a lot of athletes also struggle with pelvic floor issues because of the impact and load that they push through their bodies. So it's not just something that happens to elderly people or pregnant women. It also happens to athletes and young children too. So a lot more research has gone into it, and the realisation that Kegels was fantastic, and certainly if we've been doing some of those exercises, there's been no harm done, but we know a lot more now, and the exercises have evolved. Yeah.
And I noticed that you are exposed to yoga as well, in one way or the other. So, are there any yoga exercises to help this pelvic floor exercises?
Yoga is interesting, and I enjoy participating in classes, but I'm not a teacher, so it wouldn't be fair for me to really comment that much.
Right.
Except that good yoga instructors will talk about lifting the pelvic floor. They'll refer to the perineum and being able to lift the perineum up during certain specific exercises. So we want to make sure that I suppose attending a yoga class that's suitable for you, and that goes for Pilates as well.
Pilates.
Yeah,
Yes.
because unfortunately for some people, and we say a third of women, we know from research actually do their pelvic floor exercises incorrectly, and they push down as if they're trying to force something out of their bodies, and they think that they're doing pelvic floor lift, where it actually needs to be the exact opposite of that, where it's a lifting up action. We know that people who go to Pilates can sometimes develop a pelvic floor issue because they're pushing down rather than lifting up. So certainly if you're doing your pelvic floor exercises and you think that you're getting worse, then you're doing them incorrectly. It's not the pelvic floor exercises, it's you. And it's probably a good time at that point to actually get an assessment and get some good advice. Because the average person who uses continence pads, and certainly the marketplace has increased in that area, boys, Kotex by You are very, very aggressive with their marketing, saying that LBL, which is like bladder leakage, or you have a micro problem, therefore you just need a micro liner. It's very clever marketing to suggest that everyone has it, and it's just something that's a part of life. It's not true at all. Any sort of leaking is a dysfunction, and it can be reversed, and it can be improved, and the quality of your life can improve. So they've averaged the cost for continence pads for one person per year is somewhere between $5,000 to $6,000 Australian dollars.
Wow.
It's a lot of money for something that you could fix. And certainly from quality of life, it can extend as far as how often you go to the toilet at night. Because realistically once, maybe twice a night is normal. And when you're going to the toilet frequently, then that is a dysfunction of your pelvic floor. And if you do your pelvic floor exercises, you should see a huge reduction of that. And fatigue leads to so many issues. Firstly, you wake up, you're too tired. You're too tired to focus, you're too tired to exercise, you're too tired to really commit to anything that you're doing. And also, excessive fatigue, and I'm talking about just 2 or 3 nights of not getting good quality sleep, let alone years, actually increases the cortisol levels in your body, which is our stress hormone. And a result of that is increased abdominal fat. We know that when our stress levels go up, our cortisol levels go up, our body goes into a protective mode, and the first thing it will do is lay fat around the internal organs. So if you've got abdominal weight, it could be led from, because of course it happens, could be led by because you go to the toilet frequently, and then just do something simple like pelvic floor exercises on a daily basis can completely change this whole knock-on effect that can end up leading to some belly fat you've been trying to get rid of with exercise for years, and what you needed to do was just do your pelvic floor.
Now, I would like you to talk a little bit more about the gym stick.
Gym stick.
Yes. I attended one of your classes as well.
Yeah. Gym stick's my passion.
Okay.
I'm passionate about a lot of things, and pelvic floor certainly is one, and gym stick is another. So I first discovered gym stick in 2006. It was by accident. I was at an event, and somebody encouraged me to use this particular product. It's a fiberglass stick weighing 400 grams and a couple of rubber bands. And sometimes people say to me, what do you do with that? And I'm thinking to myself, what can't you do with it? So it launched in 2003, but developed by 2 athletes in Finland for athletic training. The gym stick has now been launched to over 40 countries around the world, including Australia. And in 2008, I actually went to Finland to do the education and also demonstrate that I've been using a gym stick for in the water.
Wow.
So, yeah, aqua gym stick. It's a slightly different design in that it has the straps that go around your feet. Actually, have a buckle, so that the straps stay on your feet. And the activity was a little bit more cardio because you're in water and you need to stay warm. But since 2010, I became the program coordinator for Gym Stick International. I love the project so much I had to be part of the entire business, and now have the opportunity to travel around the world teaching master trainers as well as delivering my own classes. The thing about Gym Stick is it's a tool that's accessible to everybody. So in a workout, I can have everything from athletes who want to train really hard right through to elderly participants who just want to be able to move. The ability to turn the gym stick so the resistance bands wrap around the end allow the clients to be able to adjust the tension to suit their needs. So that means that they're empowered very simply by making sure that the resistance is appropriate, and they don't need to look for another dumbbell or barbell that might be appropriate for that particular exercise or muscle group. Because you're attached to your feet, and so that you've got that, what we call closed kinetic chain, where what you do with your arms, you can immediately feel in your legs. What you do with your legs, you can immediately feel through your arms. Is that you've got this constant linking through the whole body. So we talk about the muscles having continuous conversations. So if I've got my arms pushing up and my leg stepping back, I feel my shoulders, but I also feel my back muscles and my abdominal muscles as well as the muscles in my lower body. All in one, exactly. You know, if I was using a dumbbell, I'd feel it in my shoulders, but I wouldn't feel it in my legs.
Yes.
If I had weights on my legs, it wouldn't make any difference to my upper body. So it creates this closed loop, which actually stimulates the nervous system in such a way.
So kind of a resistance training as well.
Yeah, well, it's resistance training, but it's also a neurological training because your brain has to actively be involved because it's switching on so many muscle groups at the same time. And it has a heightened neurological awareness. So to take a worst case scenario, we've had situations with people with Parkinson's disease and acquired brain trauma who've been able to go back to functioning more normal than they've been in the past. For example, a client in Perth in WA has gone back to driving her car after 7 years of not being able to drive a car because of Parkinson's. We've had clients with acquired brain injury not having to use their walkers anymore because they can actually walk without it through just 1 full week of gym stick training program. So, you know, I often joke about the fact that when you do gym stick, you don't need to do Sudoku when you go home to keep your brain alert because you've already been using your brain in the training. Not that it's mentally challenging because you feel it more of a physical thing, but there is a very strong awareness that there is a neurological link as well that's associated. Balance improves dramatically, as well as that whole strength component. And you do an amazing workout that you're sweating, but you're not jumping around. So it's low impact, it's achievable resistance, it's a program that anyone can do at any level because you can manipulate that resistance. And also that you can do this anywhere because the gym stick isn't something that is heavy or difficult to maneuver. So you can do it at home, you can do it in the car. I have a portable gym stick, so it shortens down. It's telescopic, so I take it with me when I go on holidays.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great tool. I stopped doing weights in 2006 because I was so injured. And then I haven't been injured since. And I'm fitter and stronger and much healthier than I've ever been in my life.
That's a good insight, Marietta.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. And for more information on the different exercises and gym stick and pelvic floor things, we can visit your website.
Yes.
Right? It is full of information.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And I believe our viewers will get a great benefit from your insightful knowledge and sharing with us today.
I appreciate it. Just remember to move. That's the most important thing.
That's the take-home message.
That's a take-home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.